Tonight, an ordeal no new parent should have to experience. A mum from Ayrshire tells STV News she nearly died after complications from a C-section. She spent 6 months in intensive care.
It was as if I went to hell and back. That's exactly how I can explain it.
Also making the headlines, Scottish gang leader Stephen Lyons has been extradited to the Netherlands after being arrested in Indonesia. As the US and Iran agree a ceasefire, Iranians in Scotland tell STV News they're still worried for their loved ones in the Middle East. And in sports, the Hearts boss plays down any concerns over their fixture schedule after it was announced the league leaders will be away to Celtic in a potential final day title decider.
We could play them in a car park. I'll be honest with you, I actually don't really care from our point of view where we play and the times and all the rest of it.
I'm Emma Cameron. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. A mum from Saltcoats who almost died following complications from a C-section has told STV News an apology from her health board is not good enough. Heather Boyd was placed into an induced coma twice after her bowel was perforated during a follow-up surgery. She now lives with a 16-inch open wound across her abdomen. In a letter seen by STV News, NHS Ayrshire and Arran admitted a catalogue of failures in her care, which Heather describes as torture. Our warning, Laura Alderman's report contains some graphic post-surgery images you may find distressing.
Baby Charlie was born 5 weeks early via an emergency C-section at Crosshouse Hospital last year. But it was while he was being looked after in ICU that mum Heather's own health problems started.
A few days later, I kind of just knew I wasn't feeling too great. I'm going, Andrew, I don't feel right.
It was obvious what was wrong because I seen she had all red on her stomach, like it was all swollen and she was hallucinating.
Heather developed an abscess in her abdomen after the caesarean, but during surgery to treat it, her bowel was perforated by a trainee doctor and she fell into septic shock. Medics then had to place her in an induced coma twice. She spent almost 6 months in ICU.
Pain wasn't the name for it. It was hell. It was like every part of me was stripped. Pain. It was as if I went to hell and back. That's exactly how I can explain it. To have Charlie and I wake up with my insides hanging out, that's not supposed to happen. Accidents happen, I get that, but not over and over again.
Heather was left with this, a 16-inch wound across her abdomen with her bowel exposed. She now needs to use a stoma bag and a feeding tube.
Treatment overall in a whole, terrible. Inhumane. It's like torture. Torture, that's what it was like.
The routine of our life has changed. It's all took up by managing this. What you've been through is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. No, I don't know anything like it. Never known anything.
It's like something out of a horror movie.
Yes.
That's how I can explain it.
NHS Ayrshire and Arran told STV News that due to patient confidentiality, it's unable to comment on individual cases. A recent inspection at Crosshouse Hospital found the maternity unit fell short in 16 areas.
And there's your apology as well.
The apology.
Heather has recently received this lengthy apology letter from the Health Board, which mentions a catalogue of failures in her treatment.
I'm deeply sorry. There's a lot of sorries. There's a sorry. There's lots of sorries.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good enough. He's not going to give me back 6 months of not spending with Charlie or my other kids. He's not going to give me back my health or my life. I'm now left with a limited life. It has a big effect on my other kids, like my kids. And that eats me up inside. So I'm annoyed that nobody's taking accountability for what's happened. I want to change. I want to see change.
Heather now has 3 more surgeries planned to correct the physical damage, but she says the mental scars will stay with her forever. Laura Alderman, STV News, Saltcoats.
The head of a Scottish organised crime group has been extradited after being arrested in Indonesia last month. Stephen Lyons landed in Amsterdam this morning on a flight from Jakarta after he was arrested on an Interpol red notice issued by Spanish authorities. Well, our chief reporter Sharon Frew has the latest on this. Sharon.
Well, this is a process that's been delayed multiple times since Stephen Lyons' arrest 10 days ago in Bali on the 28th of March. Now, these pictures show the 45-year-old signing paperwork in Jakarta before being escorted onto that flight to Amsterdam. In social media videos, the authorities have described him as a mafia boss and an Interpol fugitive. They paraded him in front of the cameras twice now. Now that we know he arrived in Amsterdam early this morning, a formal extradition process is underway, and that's being led by the Spanish authorities.
And this arrest is all part of a joint investigation, isn't it, involving Indonesian, Spanish and Scottish authorities. What more do we know about the scale of this?
Well, multiple arrests have been made both here and in Spain. Spanish police say 19 searches were carried out, mainly at residential addresses, and 7 people were arrested there. Of the 7, 2 are being held in custody on charges relating to money laundering and to being members of a criminal group. Now, today we heard from the Spanish court in charge of this operation, who said 5 have been released on bail, but they've had to surrender their passports, so they're unable to leave Spain. The alleged ringleader of this criminal group is suspected to be Stephen Lyons, and he is facing charges of drug trafficking and money laundering. His brother Eddie Lyons was killed alongside his associate Ross Monaghan in a beachside bar last June in southern Spain, and Spanish authorities say this forms part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, these developments abroad seem to be continuing to fuel gangland incidents here, don't they?
Yes, that's right. Yesterday morning in the early hours, 2 cars and a van were deliberately set on fire at the same garage in the north of Glasgow where almost 2 decades ago Stephen Lyons survived a shooting. His cousin Michael was killed in that attack, which was carried out by members of the Daniels family, who the Lyons have been feuding with for over 25 years. Now, yesterday's blaze was started hours after a 31-year-old man was stabbed in Musselburgh. Now, inquiries into both those incidents are ongoing, as are extradition proceedings in the Netherlands and in Spain.
OK, Sharon, thanks for that. Now, as the United States and Iran agree a 2-week ceasefire, Iranians living in Scotland have told STV News they're still concerned for their loved ones back home. The immediate ceasefire was announced last night, just 90 minutes before a deadline put in place by Donald Trump, where he claimed the US would unleash hell on Iran. The Strait of Hormuz was due to reopen, but only a few vessels have made it through today. Stephen Brown has more.
In Iran, pro-regime protesters made their feelings known overnight. Both Iran and the US have claimed victory after a 2-week ceasefire was announced. The agreement came after Donald Trump had threatened a whole civilization would die ahead of a deadline he set for a deal. Here in Scotland, there's concern for those who have family living in the Middle East. Nilofar has family in Iran. She supports Donald Trump's actions, and she says her family still want regime change.
We don't care about bomb. We don't care even if we are get died because of bomb. We just need to get change our government, our regime. We don't need any more this regime. 2 months ago, our government, they killed over 40,000 of us in just 2 nights. We don't care. We just need to change our regime.
This 2-week truce between the two sides has now been called in the hope a permanent deal can be found. But experts say there'll be lots of issues to agree on.
Some of them are old and have been really a key sticking point between Iran and the US for many years. For example, the nuclear program and the fate of Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium, for under 40 kilos of it. And of course, the endemic sanctions which have been levied against Iran for the past couple of decades. And some other issues which have become, of course, very important for the world economy are brand new. They emerged after the 28th of February, the Strait of Hormuz situation. That wasn't something on the agenda or on the plate of the diplomatic crisis between Iran and the US.
The reopening of the Strait of Hormuz was supposed to be part of this agreement. A key oil shipping route, only a few vessels have moved through it again today. Prices, especially at forecourts, have been increasing in recent weeks. Today, the price of oil did drop on the back of the ceasefire, but it's still higher than when the conflict started. The Prime Minister in Saudi Arabia today says he'll work to get a permanent agreement.
My job is to protect the United Kingdom from the impact of this war. It's already impacted. I'm determined to make sure that I do absolutely everything I can on their behalf, working with our allies here to minimise that impact and find a way to make sure this ceasefire becomes permanent and to make sure the Strait of Hormuz is open, because that obviously has a huge effect and impact on our energy prices back at home.
But Israel has said Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire as it continues to target the group Hezbollah. The question now, though, is will this ceasefire hold? And even if it does, what will come next? Stephen Brown, STV News.
Scotland's political parties have less than a month to win over voters ahead of the Holyrood election on the 7th of May. A new Ipsos opinion poll run in partnership with STV has been gauging the public mood. It points to the SNP maintaining a strong lead. When it comes to the constituency voting intentions, John Swinney's party is well out in front with 39% support. Scottish Labour are second, down 5 points to 15%, neck and neck with Reform UK. The Tories sit fourth place with a predicted 11% of the votes. Well, for more analysis on this, here's our political editor, Colin Mackay.
Campaigning up and down the country, that's the life for political leaders during an election. Today, they were all over the place. Troon, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Tain, Stornoway and Kirkwall. But the one thing they were all focused on was the latest poll. It puts the SNP up and Labour down.
The SNP are the most trusted party across a host of policy issues. The exception is immigration, where Reform are trusted by 1 in 5 of the public, so pretty similar to the SNP. And then also on tackling the climate crisis, where people are more likely to say that they trust the Scottish Greens than the SNP.
On the list vote, Ipsos suggests the Greens, Reform, Labour and the Conservatives are tightly packed. In terms of seats, Ballot Box Scotland estimates that leaves the SNP just short of a majority, with not much between the Greens, Reform and Labour.
I remember back in school I used to struggle just to thread the needle now and anything else.
So in terms of reaction from the party leaders, some are pleased, some aren't, and some are putting a brave face on it.
Beautiful. There's 4 weeks to go, and based on the information in the poll, or the fact that the SNP is trusted most by the people in Scotland to act with the right measures on the health service, on the economy, on the cost of living, that we can build on those foundations and make sure that we're in a winning position and able to command a majority on the 7th of May.
It'd be fantastic to have the biggest ever Green group at Holyrood, building on those things that we've done over the last 5 years, from rent controls to free to under-22s bus to scrapping peak rail fares. There's even more we want to do, making sure that we're tackling the cost of living crisis.
We've led the way on the energy debate. We've led the way on the debate about reducing the cost of living, reducing bills by having cheaper, more reliable domestic supply of gas, of oil, and that reduces the cost for businesses, that reduces the cost for consumers. And if people want lower bills, you've got to vote Reform. If you want change, you've got to vote Reform.
We've had 3 polls in the last few days. 2 of them have us up, 1 has us falling. But the real poll that matters is the one on May the 7th. And the job I have to do over the course of the next 4 weeks is to persuade people in this country that after 20 years of SNP government, Scotland needs change, and only I and Scottish Labour can beat the SNP.
We'll show people that we've got solutions, detailed, costed and credible solutions to the problems that they face in their everyday lives. And the best way to stop an SNP majority is to use your peach-coloured ballot paper on May the 7th to back the Scottish Conservatives. That's how we did it in 2021 and 2016, and we can do it again.
I'm really excited about where we are, particularly in our 10 target constituencies. We have the beating of the SNP, but wherever you are on that second peach-coloured ballot, for the first time in a long time, it looks like we're going to pick up everywhere, and electing a Lib Dem on that peach vote will deliver that vision for change.
But there's almost a month to go. That's a long time in election terms. There's a lot of rough and tumble to come.
Let's bring it back up. Absolutely fine.
And this is just one poll, a snapshot of 1,038 voters at the end of March.
We need to stop begging for independence. We are an independent country.
Well, I want us to be an independent country.
And it also suggests that 42% of them could still change their minds. And that really could change the result. Colin Mackay, STV News.
Rangers footballer Dujon Sterling has appeared in court accused of drink driving. The 26-year-old was charged for having nearly 3 times the legal limit of alcohol on his breath. He's also alleged to have driven at excessive speeds, not using his indicators and overtaking unsafely while behind the wheel of a grey Mercedes. Sterling made no plea and was released on bail pending a hearing next month. CalMac has announced a revised plan for deployment of its ferries to tackle ongoing disruption across the fleet. It comes as the operator deals with 4 major and 4 small vessels unavailable for service. Among the changes, the MV Isle of Islay, the newest vessel in the fleet, will be redeployed from Islay to Barra from tomorrow to allow timetabled services to be restored on the latter. The MV Glen Sannox also returned to service on Arran this afternoon, which will operate alongside the MV Caledonian Isles. A busy road in Glasgow city centre is to be closed for 3 months due to a sewer collapse, 2 months longer than was initially estimated. Cathedral Street was closed on safety ground a week ago after Scottish Water found the Victorian egg brick sewer had collapsed on both sides of the carriageway. The publicly owned utility have attributed the delay to a triple whammy of heavy clay, concrete and cables. Now, residents of a care facility in Falkirk say they reject the formal apology from its health and social care partnerships after the Ombudsman ruled changes to its services were brought in without proper consultation. The move comes after family members of Tiggets Hall Sheltered Housing Complex had their complaint upheld, acknowledging the way the process was handled was unreasonable. Raheem Chan reports.
A vindication worthy of celebration. After months of campaigning against changes to Council-run care services, families at Tiggershaw Sheltered Housing Complex have had their complaint upheld by the Ombudsman, who described the Council's online consultation process as unreasonable.
Yeah, online. How's somebody with cognitive issues meant to work online and of a certain generation? I think my mum's one of the youngest residents at Tiggershaw. She's 69. One of them's 100 this year. How are they meant to work online? It's not in their generation. So we felt that they broke a lot of laws that way.
The council in Denny provides individual flats with care packages tailored to each resident. In February, Falkirk Health and Social Care Partnership withdrew its on-site staff, outsourcing care to external providers. It has since issued a formal apology, stating they unreservedly apologise to residents and their families, and aspects of their consultation, impact assessment and communication fell short of expected standards. But some residents say it is not good enough.
This is the apology from the council, which means nothing on a bit of paper. We want the IJB or whoever made the decision to come, tell us why, how they got there, and the apology on a bit of paper, anybody could write that. We would like the people that done it to come and see us.
The Community Council argues the changes were driven by cost cutting.
The biggest concern for us was that these decisions were based on trying to save money to address an overspent budget. They were put in uncertainty, they were put in fear, they were worried, they were upset, and that of course passed on to their families.
For now, most residents have chosen their own care providers, with the council covering the cost. Raheem Cham, STV News, Denny.
Time for the latest sport now with Rama.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Good evening. Derek McInnes has played down any concerns over Hearts' post-split fixture schedule. He says they'd be happy to take on Celtic in a car park. The SPFL announced yesterday the league leaders will be away to the champions in a potential last-day title decider. McInnes says a title showdown on the final day is the most dramatic fixture they could have. Meanwhile, Mark Leonard has lost his red card appeal. With the very latest from Tynecastle, here's Jamie Bothwick.
Limbering up for a thrilling season finale. The post-split fixtures are out and Hearts' path is set as they aim for a first title in 66 years. After facing Motherwell this Saturday, they head to Easter Road for the Edinburgh Derby, then host Rangers on a bank holiday Monday. Next up is a Saturday night at Fir Park, followed by a final Tynecastle outing midweek against Falkirk, then that final day showdown at the home of the defending champions.
We could play them in a car park. I'll be honest with you, I actually don't really care from our point of view where we play and the times and all the rest of it. The fans, it's no ideal, particularly the bank holiday Monday, because not everybody gets the bank holiday. You know, hopefully, as I say, we're still in with a chance of winning the title going into that last game. I think it's an unbelievable fixture if we are. And particularly if Celtic have still got a chance as well, you know, so if both teams are still in the mix for winning a league, it's the most dramatic fixture you can have.
Hearts' appeal of the red card shown to Mark Leonard in Sunday's draw at Livingston has failed. He'll serve a one-match ban. Stuart Finlay returns to the squad after 6 weeks out. Harry Milne is still a doubt, while Thomas Magnusson's expected to be sidelined for a number of weeks with a thigh injury.
I thought our attacking threat was back to where it was at the weekend with Lawrence and adding to what we've already got. I thought we looked on point. We were guilty of losing a couple of poor goals, but I actually think that we are excited about the prospect of where we are. It is quite a unique situation for us as a club to be in this sort of position. We're here now and we'll just make the most of it, you know, and I think that we're excited about the prospect of the games coming up and how we want the season to finish.
As they have done since September, Hearts continue to lead the way in the Scottish Premiership. These players have 6 games to go, 3 at home, 3 away, and they intend to remain front and centre in what is shaping up to be a blockbuster finish to the season. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport, Edinburgh.
Rangers are awaiting scan results to determine the extent of Ryan Nadiri's injury. The striker, who scored his first league goal in the win over Dundee United at the weekend, sustained a knock and was substituted at half-time. The Alberts club, who sits second in the Premiership, are away to Falkirk on Sunday. Golf, and in just over 24 hours' time, Robert McIntyre hits his first tee shot in the first major of the year, the Masters in Augusta. For the first 2 rounds, the Scot has been paired with world number 1 Scotty Scheffler and Gary Woodland. That's Scheffler practising earlier. McIntyre's best finish at the Masters was in 2021 when he was tied for 12th. To rugby, and ahead of Glasgow Warriors Champions Cup quarter-final against Toulon this weekend, forward Max Williamson says it would be arrogant to be thinking about reaching the final. The Warriors set up the last 8 clash at home following the hard-fought win over South African side Bulls on Saturday, with Williamson amongst the try scorers.
Fully focused on the game at hand. I think when you start going looking ahead and thinking about the final things, it sort of distracts from the main challenge, which is that game. And I think it would be arrogant of ourselves to be thinking about the final with Toulon coming here, the quality they have.
To cricket, and Scotland have lost to Oman by 12 runs in their latest World Cup League 2 match in Namibia. Batting first, Oman posted 163 for 7 from their 20 overs. In reply, the Scots were restricted to 151 for 9. Scotland's next match is against the hosts on Sunday.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
And that, folks, is all your sport tonight. See you again tomorrow. Emma.
Thank you for that, Rahman. Well, it was a lovely day here in Glasgow today. More of this to come, Sean, please.
Oh, well, do you know, I've always say March and April, big transitional months, and things swing back and forward all the time. Colder weather on the way again. Right back to where we started. Cannot believe that on Easter Sunday I built a snow bunny in the morning, and then yesterday I fell asleep in the garden after cutting the grass. Big wild swings in our temperatures. Look at this. It looks as if we go off a bit of a cliff in the next couple of days. The graph bottoming out on Friday. Now, this looks quite drastic. It's based on the upper air temperature. That's how we work out the air mass temperatures. What it does mean, though, is we'll start to see something wintry again over the tops of our hills on Friday. Air temperatures about 8 or 9, but that's well down on the 16s to 20s we've had the last couple of days. Hopefully, fingers crossed, a wee bit of a recovery again towards the end of the month. But let's look at the forecast.
A clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, for us, lights of Falkirk, Stirlingshire, Lanarkshire, the Borders, Dumfries and Galloway and Ayrshire, still in that slightly warmer air just now, but that warmer air getting squeezed southwards the next couple of days. We go back to square one, sunshine and blustery showers, and it's going to be cold enough that some of the showers again will turn wintry over the tops of the hills. So I say we're going right back to square one. Now, for the time being, a lot of cloud around during tonight. It should be largely dry apart from a few light showers, although across lights of Mull and Oban, Ardnamurchan, Col, Tyree, we will see some quite heavy bursts of rain coming in here by the end of the night. Temperatures still about 8 or 9 degrees Celsius for many of us. We're still on that slightly warmer side, but tomorrow we'll see the cold front going through and that introduces that fresher air. So there will be a spell of rain for most of us early on tomorrow morning. That clears away into a day of sunshine and showers. Lots of showers around and a fairly blustery westerly wind. There we go, some snow over the tops of our hills. OK, now it's nothing overly extreme, we're not going into a deep freeze, but 8, 9 degrees Celsius is quite a bit down on the 16s, 18s, 19s we've seen in the last couple of days. So fresher air and feeling a bit chillier in that wind. On Friday, we'll see gales developing across the Hebrides and some rain coming in here, but for most of us, largely dry until later on the day. Saturday, a day of sunshine and showers, still gales in the islands.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, that's all from us for now. Rona will be here with Scotland tonight at 11:10. But from all of us here, enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.